Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. First slave play, and now this. The white media is going back into their bag of tricks, but as we all know, they don't have any new plays in the playbook, so they're just doing more of what they've done before. This time, they're doing a remake of The Color Purple. Only this time, it's a musical. I'm not making that up, they're actually serious about it. And it's scheduled to debut on Christmas Day, December 25th. Personally, I'd rather get a lump of coal in my stocking. Now, the tagline for the key art for this thing is that it's a bold new take. But in reality, it's the same old crap. Now, I'm sure a collective groan went up from the family when I mentioned this, but let's not lose sight of the big picture. Of all the things they chose to do, why take this vomitous piece of warmed-over ancient tripe and make it into a musical? They didn't have to do that with Fences, but then again, Fences didn't have a reputation that was pure trash. See, the white media understands that they can't do what they did in the past with impunity, because the black media is here to call it out. When Spielberg made The Color Purple back in the 80s, he and the rest of the white media knew exactly what they were doing. They were taking a portrayal of black women hating black men and glorifying it. You would never see Spielberg doing anything like that when it comes, say, to Jewish women. He would never do that. And the white media would never have a white woman or a group of white women who just hate white men, and that it's been portrayed that the white men brutalized them and violated them 5 ways from Sunday, and that they would want to put out a movie or even a TV show that portrays white women as absolutely just hating white men, and they don't need a white man, and all they need is the sisterhood. They don't do that with white people. Now, who's in this movie? Taraji Henson's in it, David Alan Grier, he hasn't worked in a while, and Louis Gossett Jr. God, I sincerely hope that this isn't the last thing that this guy's in. Now, Quincy Jones is producing this movie just like he did the original Color Purple back in the 80s. No bootlick like an old bootlick. The director is an immigrant from Ghana named Blitz Bazawuli, and it's got our old pal Coleman Domingo in it. That train's never late. This is a classic case of white power trying to pick winners and losers and propping up their bootlicks. That's just their thing. Now, when they sit here talking about this movie is about the unbreakable bonds of sisterhood, let me tell you something. It was black feminists back in the 60s who sold black women up the river. The Angela Davises and others were only looking to enhance their own positions and to find a comfortable place for themselves under white power, which they did. A lot of black women broke ranks from the civil rights movement back then, and rather than get back in formation, they wanted to feel better about abandoning their post. The black feminists are inventions of white power, sent to work against our interests. So they encouraged this racial division back in the day, and the white media put out false images and phony stories and elevated self-hating harpies like Alice Walker, who would put out black male-hating propaganda, meant to justify being divided at a time when we needed to be united. And the white media would then claim, why, we didn't write this book. You can't blame us. A black woman wrote it, so we're just recognizing the undeniable genius of it. That's all we're doing. They find these people, they publish their works, they make them a thing by publicizing them and making sure to promote them to the masses, and then turn around and claim we had nothing to do with it. When they say sisterhood, that's just another way of saying that you can escape blackness by emphasizing your gender over your race. Now, the whole identifying yourself by your gender over race thing is usually pushed at black women, but there have even been some black men who have tried to dip their toes in those waters. And no matter what, whether they work in the white media, sports, entertainment, or politics, it's always failed, because the dominant society will encourage you to walk away from the community based on gender. But they won't play along with your delusion. Once you've isolated yourself, they'll leave you to swing in the wind, which is exactly what white power did to black women back in the 60s. You can't live vicariously through the success of an Oprah Winfrey or an Alice Walker. These are sock puppets who the white media invented and propped up, but it's not going to be benefiting anyone other than themselves. Now, as the black media, we've made The Color Purple into a dirty word, so they can't use it like they used to. This time, though, they're trying to make it into a musical as a way to disarm audiences. I guess they figured it worked for Hamilton, so it should work for this one too. See, Hamilton was also a musical, and it had black men portraying white slave owners. Just unthinking individuals being part of this. Now, white audiences would fully accept it. In fact, they call it the greatest thing since sliced bread. So this is an attempt to revive awareness of this putrid work of divisiveness, and predictably the white media is heaping huge praise on it sight unseen because this isn't a movie, it's propaganda. White media understands they're not in the business of entertainment, they're in the business of mind control. That's what these propaganda pieces are meant to facilitate. These white media companies have billions of dollars at their disposal, so it's nothing for them to put several millions of dollars, tens of millions, or even $100 million or so into some work of agitprop meant to divide black people and sow the seeds of confusion. And Coleman Domingo once again, first Billy Porter and now this chump, they were talking about this movie having Oscar buzz before the first trailer came out. Same way they've done with the revisionist flick about Bayard Rustin that Coleman Domingo's going to also star in. Why does this crap even exist? The only people, and I mean only people who are interested in this, are white media executives and the intersectional angry divestors out there. But why now? Why put this crap out? Because we're going into an election cycle. And this is meant to prime the pump for the gullible and the dim-witted to go along with the same old, same old. The white media has seen black men turn our backs on voting for nothing, and black women have been increasingly doing the same. They need to get black women back on the treadmill somehow, at least they think they have a chance to, so they put a work of propaganda out there whose entire message is black men are no good, black men are bad, and black women need to separate themselves from black men and embrace the sisterhood. And everyone talking that sisterhood crap are nothing more than sock puppets for the white left. See, white power tried to divide us along lines of gender in the 19th century following the Civil War. The white feminists of their day, like Susan B. Anthony and others, tried to lead our black female icons like Sojourner Truth astray. They failed in the 19th century, but succeeded 100 years later. And we've been in turmoil ever since, which is the entire reason why they did it. But they've been seeing how black women have been gravitating in growing numbers away from this kind of thing. The specter of black people seriously reuniting is now on the horizon, and they got to do something to try to disrupt that process, something to try to get black folks, especially black men and women, back at each other's throats, something to make black women feel that, oh, well, we got to separate from black men and go where and do what? Well, just away from black men, doesn't matter where we go. Now, who does that benefit? Not black people, not even black women. What we're seeing going on right now is more of the same. A 21st century version of the same siren song they sang in the 1960s. Oh, and in case anyone's interested, Agent Duvernay's back on the loose. She's making a movie that looks and feels like it's the same vein of Color Purple. This woman can't draw flies, much less draw money, but she too is getting high praise from the white media, even though her movies keep bombing. And this constant cramming of Coleman Domingo down our throats is too much. This clown is not some movie star. He's not some great actor. He's been out here banging on doors for a minute now, and these white media types who pretend to praise him so much, they still can't tell you what their favorite Coleman Domingo performance is. They can't name for you any movies that he's been in or even TV shows that he's done a cameo in. So clearly it's not his so-called acting that they like so much about him. Whenever they write their little puff pieces on the guy, they mostly talk about how he's an LGBT icon. That's it. That's what every article on him is about. The talk about Rustin is meant as a way to credentialize him. Giving people awards is also seen as a way of giving them instant credibility, too. The same way that whenever there's a movie that they want to make seem important, they begin talking about giving it Oscars before the movie even comes out. Like Moonlight. This is how they bestow instant legitimacy on their tools. But why this guy? I think a big clue is in the fact that the Obamas helped to produce his Rustin movie. I think we'll be seeing Domingo trying to get out the black vote before it's all over. Expect to see this guy doing that, and the rest of that gaggle in this Color Purple musical will also be trying to give us political lectures. And as for this flick, don't be surprised when they get some Golden Globes and maybe an Oscar nod. Coleman Domingo will certainly get some nominations. Me, I'm waiting to see if the white media ever comes up with the Oprah Awards, given to those who have achieved excellence in dividing the black community along lines of gender while simultaneously promoting the interests of white power, all to line their own pockets. Though I think it'll be a bit hard to find recipients deserving of this honor, because white power can't stand more than one Negro around, and even then they don't believe in paying bootlicks much. But I think we all know that won't be a problem. When you look at the cast of this movie, it's like a rogues gallery of bootlicks. None of them will be ashamed of having been part of this musical. After all, they already sold their souls a long time ago. Sold them for a song. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Divine Lady, Maurice Soul, Janitha Blue, Andre Evans, and Nicholas Moore. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.